Hola, 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 hola. Now let's talk about the procedure. In this case, as we have here in the equations, we want to find the x maximum, or in this case that is the distance, with with these things, with these values. For example, in this case, as we calculated before, we wanted the tension of the ropes, and we have over here that the tension is equal to the initial velocity times the mass divided by the cosine of the angle. And in this case, we wanted also the velocity, the initial velocity of the projectile. And in this case, with some evaluations before the practice, or well, before the questions, we affirmed that, okay, we wanted the 4.4 meters of distance. We, with the angle of 40 degrees at the crossbow, we did 2 seconds. We found that 2.2 meters per second are the velocity, or is the velocity, in this case, that is beginning from all acceleration. In this case, that acceleration is equal to velocity times divided by the time, and we got 1.1 meter per second to the square. And with this, we substitute over here the tension because of the tension, as I previously explained. Tension is volume times the mass divided by the cosine of the angle. And over here also that we want the mass over here. And acceleration. Aceleración, aceleración, ¿dónde está el? Where is he? Now let's talk about the procedures. Over here we can find that these equations that we use in order to calculate all the values from here. And in this case, the first thing that we want, okay, let's localize the x maximum. That is the distance that traveled the projectile at this case. And in order to find this, we need to find all these values. For example, at this case, we can look at the x max is equal to velocity, initial velocity squared times the sine of 2 the angle divided by the gravity. But we don't have the initial velocity, and also, well, we have the gravity. But yeah, this is important. That is the initial velocity. Also, it can be find this value with the tension of the ropes that, as in the future videos you will see, they exert a force in order to make a push from a zero initial velocity to another value that makes the projectile moves. And over here, well, we can find that in order to have the velocity is distance divided by time, 4.4 meters, that is the distance what we wanted. And with some calculations that we previously did in some experiments, we assume that in 2 seconds the projectile will arrive. And we have the velocity 2.2 meters per second, then at the acceleration, the velocity divided by the time, and we got the 1 meter per second to the square. At this case, okay, as I previously explained you, we wanted the tension, and the tension over here, it came from over here, that is the acceleration of the projectile times the mass divided by the cosine of the angle. We can find here the acceleration divided by the the mass of the angle. Okay, you see, it's so square. And okay, the cosine of 20 degrees because when we were doing the ropes, the calculations, the ropes made an angle of 20 degrees when they arrived to the point when the projectile was ready in order to be launched. And in this case, we affirm that with this equation, then we calculate that, okay, the ropes make a force of 0.015 newtons. We calculate, well, substitute all this in our equation of the initial velocity with maximum the maximum distance and also with the gravity, and we got that the initial velocity from the very beginning of, well, in all the trajectory or in a point is 8.90 meters per second. And we substitute this with the equation of the distance, maximum distance, and we got that, as we probably affirmed, 4.4 meters as the total distance.